Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking Director Jerzy Savka and also Dominik Nowatzki for organizing this conference. European horse racing is going through complicated times, and reporting and sharing current information is an important and effective instrument for stabilizing horse racing in the continent. I also thank you for the invitation to make a presentation on the topic, what is the reason for the growing presence of the Czechs on the racetracks of Western Europe? I mean, not only Western Europe, but also in Poland and other countries, which I'm happy to accept. Before coming to the topic itself, it is necessary to point out that horse racing, especially steeplechasing, has a great history in the Czech Republic, going back more than 150 years. Thanks above all to the legendary Velká Pardubická steeplechase, the sport still continues today to enjoy great popularity and the interest of a broad sector of Czech society. Unfortunately, however, I must report that in general, Czech horse racing, especially steeplechasing, has been passing through very complicated times, resulting in a significant decline in the numbers of collective and individual owners, trainers, and last but not least, enormous lack of professional riders over fences. This is of course linked with the falling numbers of race courses and the race days held in the territory of the Czech Republic, and the falling numbers of races run in the course of the season. Since 1930s, a total of over 60 race courses have organized horse racing in the territory of the present-day Czech Republic. By the 90s, this number has been reduced to 40 race courses that were still active and able to put on races. Currently, we have only 9 race courses available for flat racing and steeplechasing. So now we can see the map. This map is from year 2020, so we can see still 11 race courses. In 2021, we lost 1 race course. Last year, we lost another one, so this year we have only 9 race courses. To provide some understanding of the basic features and factors in the Czech horse racing, I will make a very short digression into the financing of horse racing in general. Finance, or lack of finance, is precisely what underlies the decline in Czech horse racing and the growing exodus of horses trained in the Czech Republic to run races abroad. To put in very simple terms, there are 2 basic ways how to finance or co-finance the horse racing industry. The first option is to bring in effective law on lotteries guaranteeing that an established percentage of the money that is staked will return to a horse racing and will help horse racing to some extent to finance itself. If the law on lotteries in a given country doesn't allow this option, the significant financial shortfall can be avoided in some other way, mainly by a system of state support from the relevant state department in the form of grants in support of horse racing in sufficient amounts to ensure that the sustainability and the development of the sport. Ideally, there is a combination of these 2 options. Despite the tradition and the history of the sport in the country, the Czech Republic is unfortunately excluded from these systematic and essential sources of income. The law on lotteries allows Czech betting companies to take bets on all types and categories of races without the agreement of their organizer, and unfortunately also without imposing any duty on the bookmaker to pay a percentage share of the turnover back into the horse racing industry. In the overall context and in comparison with the amount of prize money paid out at all of the race courses, the systematic state financial support for horse racing in the Czech Republic is totally inadequate. In the Czech environment, it is therefore impossible to avoid or to do without the sponsors and the business partners of the racecourse organizers. The amount of fundings that these sponsors and partners provide is essential for the existence of Czech racing. And the organizers provide more than 90% of the prize money from these financial sources. Czech racehorse owners have to pay too much to enter their horses and declare them to run in races. For instance, in flat racing, it's 4%, just to put the horse into the race. Owners and their companies also contribute a great deal to the sport and sponsors, and the prize money offered to them is much less than they can win in the nearby countries. Horse racing professionals, that means trainers, jockeys, and stable staff, are very much underpaid. The attraction of working and competing in other countries, especially France and Italy, for better fees and better prize money is obvious. Wrocław Racecourse also offers attractive opportunities for our horse racing people. I'm speaking here as a Czech racecourse manager working in difficult times, but I want to acknowledge the efforts of the whole horse racing community to sustain and develop our sport. Okay, here we can see, for greater transparency, I provide here an overview of the financing and the current sources of finance for Czech horse racing with some brief comments. 6 million euros. That would be the ideal. Czech horse racing, and that means flat racing and jump racing, needs 6 million euros for its existence as a business operation, for its sustainability, and for the development of financial support in the form of prize money inside the territory of the Czech Republic. In recent years, the prize money paid out of the racecourse at the racecourses has averaged 1.6 million euros per season. This is, of course, not enough to meet the demands and requirements for sustainability. So the total amount of prize money paid in the Czech Republic, that's 1.6 million euros. In recent years, an average of 400 up to 450 races have been run within the framework of 50 up to 55 race days at 10 race courses. These numbers have regrettably been going down from year to year. For the season 2023, the following numbers have been announced. Maybe back, hold on. Okay, now we can see it. Number of race days, 48 for this season. Number of races, 372. Number of race courses, 9. 60% of the total prize money of 1.6 million euros is paid out for flat races and 40% is paid out for jumps races. However, it should be pointed out that there is a greater number of flat races. To be precise, the proportion is 269 races on the flat and 103 jumps races. The total annual financial support from the state for flat races and jumps races is 128,000 euros. The difference between the prize money paid out and the money provided by support from the state is 1,472,000. It's provided by the racecourse organizers. The income from a money staked with betting officials is absolutely nothing. That means pure zero from betting. This shows very clearly that the amount of prize money in the Czech Republic depends on the amount that each racecourse organizer is able to provide. Through the opportunities that they exploit in the fields of marketing, sponsoring, and other business activities in collaboration with the regional authorities, the organizers contribute considerably to the continued existence of horse racing. The situation has become more and more complicated, resulting in ever-decreasing number of race days. Okay, now we can see that we have 9 race courses. We can see the number. Yes. We can see the number of race days, the number of races, and we can see the money situation. This is the total. That's the total only for jumps racing. €2.8 million. That's the prize money won in races run abroad. Czech owners and training centers increasingly often take their horses to run at race courses abroad. The reason for this are relevant to the discussion and are easy to understand. Firstly, the financial conditions are far more attractive, and there is a wide range of available dates and races in calendar. This is of course closely linked with the rising quality of the Czech racehorses and their competitiveness on the international scene. This is evidenced by the increasing success at race meetings abroad. In the past, mainly steeplechasers were sent to run abroad, but now we can observe a similar trend for flat horses. However, the proportion of prize money won abroad by Czech trained horses is still at least 70 up to 75% in favor of steeplechasers. I will therefore concentrate on jumpers in my statistic. Now we can see the number of wins abroad in the past 30 years. We can see that the biggest number is coming from Italy, Poland, Germany, France, Austria, but it's not anymore, Sweden, not really anymore, Switzerland and Hungary, also almost nothing in the past 5 years. So now the Czech trainers are specializing for France, Germany, Italy, and Poland. The numbers of Czech runners in jumps racing abroad keeps on rising, and the amounts of prize money also keep rising year on year. We can therefore state that the amounts of prize money won abroad have become indispensable for the Czech horse racing community and make a fundamental contribution to the sustainability of Czech horse racing. In 2022, a total of €700 was paid out in prize money for jumps races in the Czech Republic. In the same year, the winnings from jumps races abroad reached a record total amount of €1,850,000. We can see it here from the statistic. We can see that the number of runners in the Czech Republic is going down. The number of runners in abroad is getting higher and higher. There is another comparison showing between the Czech Republic and abroad in the year 2022. If we take a look of the Czech Republic, we had this year, we don't even have 110, but we had 110 races. The offer was nearly €700,000, 855 runners, and the average per runner was not even €800. Abroad, very different numbers, and the average per runner, €2,535. Big difference. For the 6 years in succession with winnings from abroad were more than €1,003,072, which means twice as much as the total prize money paid out in the Czech Republic. Here we go. Yeah. The next table compares the domestic scene with the scene abroad for the same time period in terms of the numbers of runners. We can see that the number of runners is getting down in total. In the Czech Republic, the number in 2022 is 855. abroad 730, which is a very big number if we compare it with the year 2016. We had more than 1,366 and 421 abroad. These figures shows clearly that there has been a massive upwards movement in the quality of Czech jumps horses running abroad. Despite all the many financial benefits, however, this trend also has some negative aspects. The domestic race courses, especially the smaller provincial courses, cannot attract enough runners, and it has become increasingly difficult for them to organize meetings. The organizers for prestigious races cannot attract the best Czech-trained horses, and the quality and attractiveness of some meetings may be lower for some racegoers and participants. Running a Czech-trained horse abroad can be expensive and difficult to organize, and only a small number of selected training centers can deal with that. These are, of course, not ideal conditions for the domestic scene. The amount of funding that we still need to ensure sustainability is 1.6 million to reach the 6 million level that we pray for. Provided that the position taken by race courses abroad on Czech-trained horses running their races doesn't change drastically, we can assume that the trend will continue in a similar way to recent years. Taking into consideration the numbers of racehorses that are still active in the Czech Republic, we can predict similar results and similar winnings of Czech-trained steeplechasers as in the period in between 2016 and 2022. The statistics from recent years show clearly that our domestic racing reflects what is happening at racecourses abroad. And in flat racing, too, there will be an increase in the numbers of Czech-trained horses. However, I do not think, and I am not expecting, that flat racing will achieve the same results as the Czech-trained jumps community has. Even with a major injection of money abroad, we will still need a sum of 1.6 million euros for the financial health of Czech horse racing. As I have already stated, this will have to be provided from appropriate state-funded sources. It makes no basic difference between the money comes from systematic fundings, from state sources, or from a percentage of the money from betting on horse racing. However, this lies beyond the scope of this talk and is a task for the Jockey Club of the Czech Republic, which is the top authority in the Czech horse racing. The conclusion: I have provided clear evidence that Czech horse racing is going through a difficult period, but there are still effective instruments for sustaining the sport. The main causes for the outflow of Czech-trained horses are the ongoing relentless economic situation in the Czech horse racing, the ever-decreasing number of races, and the drop-off in the thoroughbred breeding in the Czech Republic over the last 30 years. However, the situation is not inescapable. Horse racing, mainly jumps racing, is still very popular in the country, and the Velká Pardubická is a phenomenon with the reach that extends beyond the borders of the country. We know that hazards and the problems that are currently most acute, and we therefore know what most needs to be worked on. In the Czech Republic, we have been writing the history for horse racing for 150 years, and I firmly believe that we will continue to write it for a long time. So thank you very much for your attention. That's all I have for you for today.